Every time you stand here next to me, oh, can't you see? Fistful of caps, you will be every day. You'll be distracted there.
So, our audience can't hear that track, but I put the call out a few episodes back that I needed more music, and I have everybody knows Maximus Troy on Facebook. You can go to Facebook.
Corvo.
Well, it's he has his mythical persona too. So I have Max
So
on
I'm Corvo.
Corvo. So do I have to call you Corvo now?
No.
Or that's your stage name?
Yes.
Corvo?
Yes.
So my guest for the day is going to be Justin, my brother, right? But I want Max to talk a little, just real briefly about his music there.
Yeah. Well, obviously you heard it wasn't very good.
Oh no, I thought it was awesome. That's why we played it. Everybody liked it. So what's the background on it? And I'm going to have Justin talk about it a little bit too,
I just made it on GarageBand. That's not really anybody playing any instrument or anything.
But you did some of the instruments.
Well, in one of my other songs, I did some ukulele. Wasn't very good.
No, but I mean, like you did the GarageBand instruments manually, though, didn't you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an instrument.
But I also did the loops.
Sure. So does everybody.
Yeah, everyone uses loops.
Oh.
Yeah.
So our audience is saying don't have Justin on at all. Just have Max. Yeah. Oh. Well.
Yeah.
Did you say yeah? So, okay. So, but this particular song, what was it called? What was the name of that song called?
Well, that was Fistful of Caps, and if you play Fallout, then you'll probably know what that's referencing.
Nice. Okay, because I had no idea.
Yeah, caps is...
Your uncle knew, but I didn't know.
Caps is a currency in, they're bottle caps. And
so it's Fistful of Caps, ! Question mark.
Yes.
So it's like a question.
Because it's, weird. They use caps as money. They use bottle caps as money.
Cool.
It's weird.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So
let's hand this over to
Justin. Well, hold on. So you have some more songs coming up that are I'm gonna play another one by another artist at the end of the show.
Yeah.
But then we have some other songs in upcoming shows that people can look forward to, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
I believe Trail of Paradise, and there's one other song that I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, I'll get it later. That's okay. We'll figure it out.
No, I can figure it out.
It's very important. So. So it was this one, right? Brink of the Dawn. Brink of the Dawn.
Yeah.
And which one did you play ukulele on?
I think it was Trail of Paradise, which is my favorite one of them.
Yeah. Well, you're a great singer, and I can't wait for you to get produced by your cousin Jordan. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
For your real album, right?
Yeah, so look forward to Light a Rocket, Brink of Dawn, and Trail of Paradise.
Nice. Okay, thanks, Max. So then we had Trisha wanted to say one more thing since I cut her short last time. She was she was offended that I didn't ask her the question that I ask everybody else, which is when you come back to co-host, which in my defense, you did say you're moving to Indy, so I just thought maybe you wouldn't be able to.
But I said I'm keeping my office.
But right. There's all that extra stuff that I didn't actually know. So anyway.
You didn't listen because you're my friend.
Fire away. I know you have a few people that you wanted to bring back, so give me a couple names.
Okay. Well, the person I want to co-host with the most would be John Mino. Him and I have done some shows together. He's asked me to, and we have done some events together. And he is just a wealth of knowledge, and he's a fun guy, and he gives so much to the community for the vets. And it just that's my person.
Yeah,
that's
he's a good guy. So
I'm putting a shout out to him, almost like when we did the challenge. The
ice bucket challenge. Yeah,
I'm putting a challenge out right now, John Mino. I want you to be on this podcast.
Okay.
Ideas by Elliot. Thank you.
Okay. So if you tag him on Facebook or something, you got to make sure to tag the right episode. So this is going to be right.
I got it.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thanks, Elliot, my tech person.
Thank you, Trisha.
Peace out.
My law person.
Bye, Nick.
See you later.
Okay, so we got all of our special guests out of the way, and now we can come to the main event, which is, you might not know, but he's my brother. His name is Justin. But go ahead.
Hey, how's it going?
And so first thing we're going to do is, what's your full name, Justin?
Oh, it's Justin James Laser.
So tell me about your name.
Oh, my name?
Yeah.
Well...
what is up with that?
Yeah. Well, I switched my last name right after I got married. And part of it is my name used to be Justin Christensen. And then it gets shortened to like J. Christ and things like that. And I just really didn't like it. And it didn't really fit me. It's not my style. And then I talked about switching it, and a number of different names came by that we thought about switching to, and my wife and I both came to Laser, and we both liked that, so that's why it became Laser.
So it's not your style. So like when you're up on stage, you want people to be shouting "Laser, Laser, Laser."
Yeah.
So what is it that you do that you're up on stage?
Oh, I'm not up on stage.
I was just going to say, is this the Major Laser? Are you in the military by chance?
It would have been cool to switch it, my first name and middle name as well.
No.
Yeah, it could have been like Sonic Mega Laser. But I didn't want to switch the first and middle name as well. That was a bit too much.
Okay. So what is it that you do? Like this is what guys talk about, right? You introduce yourself. You're like, I'm Justin, and I'm blah, and I'm Nick, and I produce awesome podcasts, and I'm Elliot, and I sit on the beach and wear my sunglasses at inappropriate times. So what is it that you do?
That's all you do is sit on the beach?
No, we don't have a beach in Green Bay.
We're working on it.
We are
working on it. Yeah.
I've been to some other beaches. Went to Sheboygan.
Yeah.
Went to Michigan.
No, I don't hang out on the beach all the time.
So what is it that you do?
Well, right now I'm a courier for FedEx. That's a pretty recent job that I've gotten. But what I went to school for is for teaching.
So it's very important that people have the right last name when you're delivering packages.
Actually, they don't even see your name tag.
Right. This is my point.
Well.
I think dead air is important sometimes.
Yes, it adds atmosphere.
Right. Yeah, it added a lot of atmosphere there. So so I'm making fun of you a lot because you are my brother, and that's whatever. So, but what is it that you did before that?
Oh, I was teaching at a charter school earlier.
So talk about that, charter schools.
Yeah. So at the beginning of last year's school year, I found out about this teaching job. And I teach social studies. It's always been really tough to get a position teaching social studies, and I teach in either the middle school or the high school level. And this is at the middle school level, and it was 8th graders, and it was great. It was U.S. history. I thought, oh, this will be wonderful. I ended up getting the job, and the school year started off, and I thought, well, yeah, there's some rough kids from inner city Milwaukee area. And yeah, it was a pain because I had to move down to Milwaukee to teach. But I thought, well, you do things correctly, and the kids will fall in line. And kids start swinging at you, throwing things at you. They swear all the time. It got pretty rough.
So it was rough.
Yeah, it was really rough. And then when you come to the administration, you say, well, hey, listen, this is just unacceptable behavior. And say, well, you just have to deal with it. We're not going to do anything to the kids.
Yeah. So this was a charter school with the Milwaukee Public School District, right?
Yeah, it was.
So, it's widely recognized. I don't think I'm talking out of turn that Milwaukee does not have one of the best school districts in the world or the country, right?
Yeah. And I had no illusions that the kids would be wonderful kids, but thought, well, we're still going to hold the line on, what's appropriate, right? And
so I know you've told me some of the stories about that. Why don't you share some of those stories?
Yeah, I mean the during the first week, a kid tried to punch me in the face right in the first week. So and I knew it'd be pretty rough, but I thought, well, a kid like that, they'll discipline him, something will happen.
But I mean,
Absolutely
you were
not.
hitting on his girlfriend, right?
No, I actually I think if I recall correctly, I asked him if he could sit down.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
And you were a teacher.
Yeah, it's just
And this
asking
was
him
a
to sit down.
student.
Yep.
Okay.
So then he took a swing at me, and but there was various situations like that. I was tackled once by one of the kids, and then he was put right back into class the very next hour, like as if nothing happened. So it was pretty frustrating to deal with those situations. But generally, they're kids. They're not just evil people trying to do bad things. So on a day-to-day basis, they weren't trying to do bad things. They just kind of did whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
And you had to try to control that and keep them in line. And it was difficult at times, and you had to have a lot of patience. But
you have no authority and there were no consequences.
No, there were no consequences.
So, Trisha was talking about Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. And, he's got his quarterback job in the NFL, and he broke the rules, and there were some consequences for that. And this is a professional at the top of his game, top of his career, and this is a guy who's earned some of his notoriety and some of his, he's earned some breaks potentially, right? So, why do you suppose it is that that there's no consequences?
I mean, without consequences, I don't even know why you bother having a rule. You have to have consequences, and you have to stick firm to them. So, but when kids would do things, there would be a lot of idle threats made to them.
Yeah.
But the kids would always see right through it because they would see that nothing would happen.
So you gave me a little story about walking down the hall once.
Well, let me think.
I don't remember the whole story either. I was hoping you'd remember. There's something about like you'd ask the kids to.
Oh, they're supposed to walk in a single file line down the hall.
Yeah.
And stay to the right.
Uh-huh.
And they had no. What happens if they don't do it?
Right. But didn't one of the kids call you out on that once?
Yeah, and obviously it disappoints me.
Yeah.
And you could tell them that, but they don't. They don't care they're. From some extent, you've seen that they're used to disappointing people, so that doesn't make a big difference to them either. Not that they want to disappoint, but yeah, there were nothing would happen to them. I think the worst was if they were swearing. We brought it forward to the administration that, hey, if they're swearing, we should be doing something about that. And they said, we're not going to do anything about swearing. They just do it too much. There's nothing we can do to curb that. And after that, one of the special ed ladies that worked in the building, she quit after that because she just couldn't take it. So
yeah. So I was wondering about that because you're a bleeding heart liberal, and So I don't whatever. I mean, I don't think that's not a slam. I'm just saying that you're on one end politically, or maybe towards the middle. But there are people that are on the other end politically. And do we want to completely disenfranchise a wide array of viewpoints as teachers? Because there are people that will be like, this is off the charts insane, and they might use a stronger language than that even. And what do you do about that? Because then it becomes an echo chamber of only teachers who are like, well, I'm gonna stick through this no matter what, I think that these kids they have a right to an education, that mentality, right? Because that's the whole thing. They don't want to kick the kids out because what do they do then?
There's dollar value associated with each kid.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah. So, and I don't know the exact dollar value, but you can't, the kid could do so many things wrong, and it would be obvious that we just don't have the staff on hand to be able to handle a kid that's that many problems. But they'd still want to keep the kid in some fashion because there's a dollar value associated with them. And if you don't have enough kids there, we don't have enough money coming in, and they can't run the school. So from some standpoint, that's a business decision. But at another standpoint, you're wrecking the education for all the other kids that really do want to learn. And there were many of them that did want to learn and were good students. So I don't want to paint a bad picture on all of them.
But it makes it really difficult if let's say it's 80% are good. If 20% are vocally horrible, they're just being horribly bad. And even if I feel very strongly that if you kicked out just a fraction of those and showed that there are some consequences, I think that would curb some of that.
I completely agree.
So
yeah.
So what do you do about that?
Well, to be fair, the ones that were the worst offenders that did things that were illegal, like brought drugs to school, brought other people into the building that they led into the building to beat up and fight other people. When they pulled acts like that, they were removed from the school. So to be fair, when they did things that were completely illegal or completely dangerous,
so what happened to them then?
They would remove them then.
Remove them.
They would
for how long?
They would expel them from the school. When they were that bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
So there were
you
a couple
need to show that.
Yeah, there were a couple, but those are pretty extreme situations, and that's what you'd expect. So,
I could be completely wrong, but the whole time I was in school, I don't recall any of that at all.
You didn't have fights every week?
When I was in high school, I don't recall there ever being fights on school grounds that weren't just immediately like broken up.
Oh, I agree.
Before it would even become an issue, no teacher was ever touched at all. I remember a girl in middle school said something to a teacher. She was out. She was suspended for I don't know, a few days anyway, something like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, you would expect a pretty harsh reaction,
And that was just words, and it wasn't. I mean, there were no F-bombs. It wasn't even really, really strong language, and that's it. And that sticks out in my memory. Like that was such a not traumatic, but it was it was a big thing. So I don't know. I know that I have a lot of friends who are. They would claim pro-education, and I think that paints people who have a different view as being anti-education. I don't really think that anybody is anti-education.
No, I don't think so either.
I think that there are people who see some of these problems, and they have different approaches to how we should fix those things. So you have the typical person, Scott Walker, that gets painted as a villain in education, I think, a lot. And,
sure.
and then you have people on the other end who want to do nothing and are like, they're just kids. They deserve an education.
Well, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, this was a charter school, and Scott Walker promotes charter schools. So I don't know if that's I don't know if you would want it to be run that way or not. I don't know.
You think he would? You think?
No, I don't think he would. I don't think anybody would want it to be run that way. But the system that was created encouraged running a school that way.
So because of the incentives, the cost incentives. Yeah,
the cost incentives. Without enough incentives to create a meaningful learning environment versus just trying to pack kids in, even if you can't handle.
Yeah, So what? I'll cut to the chase a little bit. So what happened to that school?
Well, it did close down.
So
but not because they didn't teach kids, because of financial reasons.
So I think that they could have been that situation could have been improved if they would have taken out some of the bad seeds. I mean, that's probably oversimplifying a little bit, but I think anyway, I feel like those are some little stories to share about that. I don't think a lot of people realize the how bad some of our schools are.
Oh yeah, it's
and that's probably not even the worst school in the district.
I kind of question that myself. Like, this could be the worst? I don't know.
Yeah.
But what are the odds that it's the worst? That wouldn't even make sense. Like, I randomly ended up in the worst school, and that's, I don't think it is. And there were some days that went fine.
Yeah. But you were in like what I consider to be a nicer part of Milwaukee, where
it was.
You're right on the border of Milwaukee and Brown Deer, which is where you lived for a while.
Yeah, and that area is pretty nice.
Brown Deer's very nice.
Yeah, Brown Deer, Menominee Falls. Yeah, that whole area I like it. Now, a lot of the kids came from the inner city area. They were all bussed up. So quite a distance, actually.
Yeah.
And it's probably to their benefit to get to a nicer area to go to school, safer area.
Do you think that helped at all?
Yeah, I think that helped protect those kids from the things around them.
So at least they had a little island of escape.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
okay.
And the kids felt safe.
Yeah.
You could tell they felt much safer being at school than they would say that than they do all the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So it was a safe place for them.
Right. So why aren't you teaching now?
Well, I didn't get another teaching job right away afterward. The school shut down. I didn't know it was going to shut down. We didn't get much notice. And I just sort of randomly came across another job because of a friend right afterwards. So at FedEx, and that was pretty handy to pick up another job right where you left off, like nothing had happened. Especially when we got, I think, about a week's notice that the school was going to close. So otherwise, I would have just been unemployed for a while.
So I hear that a lot from teachers, that it's hard to get a job.
Well, in certain areas.
Okay.
Yeah. So
why is that?
We created too many teachers. I mean, that's the long and short of it.
Okay. This becomes sort of circular logic, I guess, but I hear all the time. In fact, I saw on Facebook, a comment of the stadium tax. The stadium's all paid for. There's some extra money left over. The very first thing was put it into education. So if you oversimplify that, everyone would agree with that sentiment, right? I think that almost everybody is pro-education. They might not be pro-spending on education. I think that some of these stories bring to light some of the reasons why some of them might feel that way. Mm-hmm. But I know when Ben was going to college, there was extra money put aside if he would promise to go teach in an inner city for I think 2 years, something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so he was able to, if he wanted to, go for education and get extra money. So I mean, we as a state, as a society, whatever, we're putting money into education and at the college level, even to foster more and better teachers, I guess. Mm-hmm. So. What do you think we should do?
I mean, plenty can be spent on education. It's a good thing. It's just the way you go about spending it.
In what way, though?
But when you're talking about there being an excess of teachers for a certain area, part of that is just class sizes are very large. When you have classes very large, you have people just sitting on the side without jobs, and you could be spending the extra money to have them teaching kids. And most studies will show you that the smaller the class size, the student to teacher ratio, that's always a benefit to have that as close as possible to fewer students per teacher.
So our class size is larger than they used to be?
Yeah, they are. Yep.
So why do you suppose that happened?
If we want to spend less money on it, you can have more kids in one
But we're
row.
Spending more money than we ever have on education.
Well, part of that's inflation. Like in the Green Bay School District, we're not spending a ton more, but down in Milwaukee, they are.
Right.
So they're spending a lot more.
So how do you answer that? How do you address that?
I don't know where all that money is going down there. It's pretty terrible. They spend a lot more per student in Milwaukee than Green Bay ever has. So
those are the criticisms on the other side, right? So it's knee jerk to say we need to spend more money, dump more money on it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't see that working.
Yeah, I don't see that working either.
And I see a good teacher in front of me without a teaching job.
Yeah, well, there's down there. There's fundamental problems with other things. I mean, you can have the best teacher in the world in a classroom, but if the kids have a really poor upbringing,
but you've lived here your whole life. Why don't you have a teaching job here?
Oh, here? There hasn't been a lot of openings here.
Why not?
I think a lot of social studies teachers hang on to their jobs until they're
till the bitter end.
Until they're
But they're so underpaid. Aren't they anxious to get out of it?
No, but they're passionate about their career.
So it's all passion. You think? Okay. I mean, I don't know. I just you understand why somebody could be cynical about that, right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
So they get paid so poorly, but they're going to hang on to their job. They get paid so poorly, but there's a waiting list to become to become a teacher.
Yeah.
That I struggle with that when I hear that we need to spend more in education. I'm like, we have a waiting list of teachers.
Well, and my reference again is to spend more to have more teachers, not to just pay them more.
Sure.
So,
but why don't we do that?
I think we should. I actually think if you had a really great teacher and you had a classroom of 30 kids, and if you could hire 2 reasonable teachers and have 15 kids each, that would probably be a better outcome for the kids. I mean, they'd have more interaction on that student to teacher ratio, and you'd also be employing twice as many people.
So. I've told you my theories on education, right? Where I think things are going to go and where things should go.
Yeah, technology should take over.
Yeah, well,
I think that'll happen in a lot of areas.
So I feel like third world countries like wherever, Africa or India even, they're not really third world, but whatever, the developing world, right? They can get iPads and cheaper technology. Cheap, right? They can. That's even if they drop on the most expensive iPad, that's going to be about $1,000.
Sure.
Even there, a teacher is going to cost more than that, and that's just in year one.
Yeah.
So I feel like they, you can get the best educators to produce some videos, and you can throw numbers at that. You can't tell me that an average social studies teacher in in any school district. I'm not going to pick on Green Bay or Milwaukee, but anywhere is better than one of the 10 best.
Now, one of the things you're getting at, though, is if you put a computer or some vid screen in front of a kid and they're going to watch videos and they're going to do the activities on their own, you're really talking about the best kids that are going to thrive in that environment are going to be the ones with their self-motivation, their own drive.
Yep.
And I think a lot of kids would.
So I think that then you do have to change the focus.
Yeah.
You have to adjust that. But I will tell you that anecdotally, Max and all of his friends will sit and watch YouTube for 100 hours straight if they could. So like watching videos and taking some tests, I think, online, getting through the program that way, and then using school as a more, like people talk about, well, you need the social thing. I'm not saying delete the schools. I'm saying that I think we could spend the money a lot better and not necessarily have large class sizes, but we could accommodate that as we have it and be more effective.
Well, you could just have social activities for kids.
You could have social activities, but allow them to ask questions. Like that's the time to get some help, to get some hand-on help. But the teaching, like standing up in front of the class and demanding respect and silence, and I feel like in the case of the charter school, I feel like because of the disruptions caused by that 20%, I feel like 80% aren't even getting a below average presentation given to them, whereas they could go home and get it on their iPad and it'd be great.
No, to be fair, you're talking about a video or a presentation, and a lot of times you're not even doing that anyway. You're doing activities.
Okay.
Especially in middle school and younger kids, you do a lot of activities that involves them with hands-on learning. They get they dig right into it.
Okay.
So they can kind of sink their teeth into it. And that's a little bit different. You got to prepare the activity for them. Now, if you just have them watch a video, that video could give them the instructions to do that activity, but they might have questions. And a lot of kids have a lot of questions about how to do things.
Yeah.
So it depends on the nature of the teaching.
So the thing that people get hung up on, same thing with self-driving vehicles, right? They get hung up on, well, that's, they think about today's technology applied to classrooms the way they are now. And I'm saying that we can shift faster than we are, but we don't have to take yesterday's technology and utilize that in the present day classroom. I'm saying that things should change. The interaction with teachers should be a little more natural, a little more the way that it is in business. Like teachers should be able to text the teachers and students should be able to text each other. In the school, out of the school, and just like we do in the workplace.
There's a lot of systems for them to communicate in and out of school. So, but as far as using technology and having it replace teachers,
no, I don't think that I'm not advocating that, and I don't think that anybody would allow that to happen.
Okay.
But I think that we can make better use of the resources that we're already utilizing. And I don't know. I just you have anything else to say about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some schools that are called Google Schools.
Yeah.
And I went to a program about that, and all the kids have their computer with them, and they take it with them to every class, and then they take it home with them, and they can communicate all the time with the teacher through that system. And they can do all their assignments, all their homework right through the Google Classroom system. And it's really nice. And they don't have all the textbooks to lug around, and they can communicate back and forth with the teacher. And a lot of it is still self-paced learning, that they can do extra activities on their own if they're ahead, or if they're struggling, they can do different activities right through that whole entire same system. So it's really great. And you still need somebody monitoring that, and that's where I think the teacher might be more of like a monitor or a task master.
And I get it. You were in a Milwaukee district where a lot of the parents were hands off. Gene and I want to be more hands on. We don't always know how. And every year we go to the conferences and we talk a little bit about this with the teachers, but I feel like they don't understand what I'm saying. I'm like, Max wants, he needs more help. And he needs more practice on math. And I'm not the teacher, so I'm not following the curriculum, the daily curriculum, like the teacher is.
Sure.
I would like some guidance on how we can best augment that and best work as a team on improving Max's math skills, for instance, right? And I've had you help. I'm like, I don't know, maybe you need some tutoring. And I think he really just needs more practice. And
I'm surprised they wouldn't be able to give you more practice assignments for him to do.
It's always a struggle. And then it's always optional. It's like worksheets. And I just need something that I can keep track of.
Yeah.
And, that's why I love Khan Academy. I think that I feel like that's it. They have teacher resources. You can log in. You can track it. Max only did 3 videos today, and he didn't do any of the practice stuff. So like that, for me, I feel like for me and for a kid like Max, I feel like for learning math, at least, maybe not everything, but for learning math, it's pretty awesome, pretty great.
Yeah, no, it is. And but again, you're going to be there kind of monitoring them, watching them, checking up on them, because you can put all the best tools in front of anybody, and if they just sit there and don't do them,
right? That's true.
It's and I think more and more of those tools will be involved in education and teaching. I just think there's you probably have an older generation of teachers that are still out there, and they're going to do things the way they've always done them, and their argument will always be the same. Well, hey, all the last kids learned with this, so but yeah, I've always tried to incorporate a lot of technology into the classroom as much as I've had available.
So I don't want to spend the whole hour blabbing about it.
I could talk about education.
I could. And so I'm super passionate about that. You went to spent your life in college, putting your life into education. So I know we both care deeply about education. So I'm going to just change topics real quick, and then I want to do our little thank Camera Corner Studio spot. So give me the few minute intro to Justin Laser.
So a little bit about me. I've primarily lived in Green Bay all my life. So I was born in Green Bay, lived here for many years, and then I went to school at UW Oshkosh, and when I finished school,
UW0
or UW/Kosh, or however you want to call it. And great school, by the way.
No, it is actually.
Yeah.
For education and computer science, it's considered one of the tops.
Yeah, it's really great.
And probably other things too. I just know those.
Nursing too is big there. Yeah. So then went to. I ended up living up in Marinette, Menominee area for a while, and I taught actually in Michigan technically because it was the Menominee High School. So I taught there for 1 year, and I did some subbing in the area. A bunch of subbing at the Menominee and Marinette High Schools in the area, and then I ended up doing the corporate gig, getting a job at Shopko for a while, and then I worked at Humana for a while. But I always wanted to get back into teaching or education roles, and I tried to get into more educational roles at those companies, especially at Humana when I was there. But nothing ever really came up. So then when I did find out about this teaching position, I was really excited.
I know you were.
And I knew it would be a challenge. It would be a struggle. Boy, I wish the school wouldn't have closed. I mean, that's frustrating. So yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
As much of a challenge it was, we were trying to make strides to make things better. So, it kind of left me hanging.
Do not shake.
Yeah.
I just got handed my beverage from Gina.
Yeah, I've never seen a do it. Well,
I think one is for you and one is for me. Do you want to pick?
No, I'm fine either way.
Okay, sorry.
So I think they're both for you.
I was.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to use them both.
Yeah. So
you can have my empty water bottle.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sorry. And okay. So, but I know you were in Fond du Lac, I think, for a little bit too.
Well, that's where I did student teaching.
So
yeah.
That's right, because you were in Oshkosh.
Yeah. Yep.
So I was it in Fond du Lac and in Marinette or Menominee that you had me come in and talk?
No,
to
that
students?
was while I was student teaching.
That was just in Fond du Lac.
Yeah.
I didn't remember if it was.
Yeah.
Because I know I went up and maybe met you at the school once in Menominee. I don't remember.
You might have. I don't know.
The school in Fond du Lac was like a palace.
It was a massive.
I remember
school.
that.
Yeah, it was. It's
so that's where some of the money goes.
Yeah, yep. The administration, the building, and a lot of it has to go to that. I mean, you sink money into a building, it's going to last a long time. So I mean, I understand that.
So you know what, I have actually kind of changed my tune on that, because I remember when we were in high school, we had the relos. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they got rid of those before you were there or not.
No,
but
I wasn't.
They were like trailers and they leaked. They were like, it was horrible.
But you still learned.
And we did still learn.
Yeah.
So I have mixed feelings on that.
Yeah.
However, I do sort of subscribe, because I've been involved in downtown and some historical renovations and all, and retaining character. And one thing that kind of stuck out in my mind, a couple things. There's the broken window theory that Rudy Giuliani subscribed to in New York City. I kind of don't know how I feel about that. And that's the idea where you take care of things at such a micro level that things, crime doesn't happen. That's where it really kind of came from. So they would prosecute people for, cleaning windshields in the road when they're not supposed to, things like that, right? And the idea is, if a building has broken windows, nobody's going to care if anything else goes wrong. They're not going to care about crime, all that stuff. And I mean, I can see that point. But also on sort of the taking that to a different extreme, people talked about if you spend the extra money to build a good building that is going to last, it's worth maintaining. If you build a crappy building, and you see that actually happen. It's really inexpensive to go out into an industrial park or a suburb and build a pole building, and some of those are not really well maintained. And then you have a building even like this one that we're in right now, the Camel Corner Studios, and the walls are concrete and they're sort of nondescript, but it's very functional and it works well, and they end up being maintained. I think that a big part of the reason for this studio even being here is because we wanted to reutilize, not we, but Camera Corner wanted to reutilize the building rather than tear it down for parking. You know, they purchased the property, I think, for parking. I don't know. Nick can correct some of that if I'm wrong.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah. So, and it'd be a shame to tear this down because it's a very for what you have here. This is a perfect use for this as a studio.
Yeah, it's a very nice.
So
place.
Nick has talked about this stuff in the past, and I've talked a little bit about it. But I thought it was really interesting last time when I had Trisha talk about some of the facilities here. So I'd kind of like to get your quick take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. It's easy to use. Nick helps you take care of everything. Actually, he took care of everything for us, so that made it even easier. And everything's really comfortable and it's set up really well. And I think if you don't know how to use a lot of the equipment, like I look over and I see things that I don't even have a clue what they are. But
that just lets you plug microphones in. That's all that thing is.
Well, so yeah,
you know what?
That's a lot of microphone slots then.
You know, Nick, though, people that are experts in a certain field, they tend to discount their own level of knowledge.
Right.
I remember a thing. I feel like I maybe told this to you, but I've said this before. This anecdote that sticks in my head. Eddie Van Halen was talking about, playing guitar isn't like brain surgery, and then a brain surgeon said, "You teach me how to play guitar like that, I will give you brain surgery lessons." So so having expertise and being a professional in something.
Right.
It's hugely valuable.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why we've structured the studio in a way that you build it around what you need. So maybe you're making a video and you already own a camera and you know how to use it, but maybe you're not familiar with lighting a green screen.
Right.
So we have the screen, we have the lights, and if you want someone to help you work with it, we have technicians available.
Yeah.
I'm one of them, but there's also Dan and a few other guys at the store that can help out. But
so that's something that we really haven't touched on much is
the expertise is invaluable.
You have this whatever you want to call it, a deep bench.
Right.
So you have you and I assume Dan is almost at your level.
Oh yeah, Dan actually comes to us from WLUK Channel 11.
Oh, okay.
So he has a lot of broadcast television experience. He still works Packers Family Night, and
Wow.
He's.
So I was selling him short. So he's right. He's
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I'm the guy that picked this up in the field, working as I went.
Ultimately, that's what everybody really
Right.
does. Yeah.
And when I do my show, I'll talk about how you can go learn things
Oh,
in
there you
college,
go.
but you really don't know anything until you get a job.
Yep.
True that. Especially
you're-
if you go to UW0.
Oh, well, I mean, until you're in the trenches, yeah.
So, but that deep bench is hugely valuable, and that's something that we really haven't talked about. Like you have, I don't know, there's 120 people over there, maybe more.
The last count I think was 165.
Yeah. So I mean, and obviously all those people are not going to be audio video professionals,
Right.
but all of them can help. All of those people, you have this huge wealth of knowledge. Like that's, I don't think that you're going to find that anywhere. You're not going to find that anywhere in this area anyway.
Right.
So that's huge, and I feel horrible that we haven't really talked about that at all. The personnel there, and I know a handful of the people there. So but one thing that's true of every person that's ever been there, and as like an outsider. Everyone there has always been, everyone at Camera Corner has been professional. They've been kind. When they're not knowledgeable, they will try to seek out the knowledge.
Right.
And I'm probably the worst possible customer that they could ever have. Right. So, but they're always accommodating. I've dealt with John. I think he deals with the Apple stuff.
Yep.
Amazing. He's actually a genius. Contrary to what Trisha said about me, an actual Apple genius.
Well, and he goes to the genius classes. We send him for, and that's one of the things about Camera Corner in general is just all of the vendors that we work with have certain education requirements. So we get training from Extron, Crestron, Apple, HP, Nikon, Canon. They're here all the time. And one of the things that we work on doing and that I'm working on focusing on more with the studio also is the education side of it. So we have an area at the studio that is designed to be a classroom for 8 to 16 students.
Nice.
And coming soon, I don't have anything on the calendar yet, but coming soon, we're actually going to have classes that'll teach you how to do more of your own video and audio production.
We should collaborate and put on a class.
Sure.
Like for real.
We got a teacher right there.
We should figure. We do.
Yep. Instructional
Ooh,
technology.
Nice. Well
There you
played.
go.
See?
No, I think we should. We should think about that. So I don't want to use up all of our stuff.
No, you're good. I mean, like I said, the studio is here and it's available for pretty much anything you could need. I mean, we have audio recording capabilities, we have video recording capabilities, we have photography capabilities, and all of these can be combined into multimedia. And even if you wanted, we can do live internet broadcast or live to tape and take that over to a local station or cable provider. So lots of opportunity for you at the studio. If you want to learn more about it, feel free to reach out to me. You can get me or anyone on my team at rentals@cccp.com, or you could also call us at 920-272-0148.
Awesome. You're the best.
Thanks.
So I always joke, and Trisha has my Elliotisms, and I always joke that it's your show. I always try to say, which by the way, I'll have to give credit to where I stole that from in a second, but really it's Nick's show. Nick does everything. He does the whole job.
Yeah, we really
everything.
did just sit down and go at it.
Like I told him that I finally got it onto iTunes, and I think he was a little disappointed because it took me a few weeks to even do it, and then it took a week for Apple to approve it.
Well, I'll be honest. When we got to recording like episode 5, and I hadn't seen episode 0 out yet,
took more than a week for it to get on iTunes. That's no joke. I think they're doing that on purpose. I think they're trying to just keep podcasts from kind of I think they're trying to keep the quality up, like they would say.
Yeah, probably.
So it's interesting. And I should say where I totally stole the It's Your Show thing. There's a great podcast that I recommend to everybody. It's called Back to Work. I don't know if you've heard that. Yeah. So Nick has heard that. And Justin probably doesn't because,
I don't listen to a lot of podcasts.
Well, you're not working right now. We're going to touch on that.
Oh, that's true.
But it's very much about productivity. And so they joke about it, I think partly because the two main guys, there's Dan Benjamin, who owns the podcast network, and then there's Merlin Mann, who's a well-known Apple enthusiast and a well-known productivity guru, and he actually came up with the term inbox zero, which means clear out your email inbox and don't let email run your life, and so that's where he got kind of his notoriety from. But he's so well known, he could very easily go and do a show on his own. I think that's what they're joking about, and they say it's your show, and they actually banter back and forth about that. So I totally stole that, and I think it's awesome that anybody thinks that that's kind of a funny thing to say, because I think it's hilarious every time they say it, because it's so there's just like this just emotion that you get, like, that you don't know. I think that they have a good working relationship, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe Merlin's going to run away. I don't know. It's really strange. So what I wanted to touch on, Justin, is you're not working right now. What happened?
I got into a little bit of a accident riding my scooter, and I busted my toe. Hit a big puddle, flipped over, skidded into it, and the scooter landed right on my foot. And it was pretty bad, but I mean, overall, it could have been a lot worse. I was wearing my helmet, I had my gloves on, things like that, and I didn't sustain any life-threatening injuries, anything like that. But I got banged up pretty well. So it's really frustrating, the medical system, how slow it works. Like, I could tell I'm in pain. I have to go in, go in and have a doctor tell me that, no, you won't be able to work. I was like, I know I won't be able to work.
Right.
So I can tell.
But see, that's one of those rules that could be abused otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's there's the consequence there.
So yeah, and just the cost of it overall, it's pretty frustrating. Yeah. But you have what else can I do? So
right.
Yeah.
So the only reason that I care about that, not really. I mean, I care that you're in pain, you're my brother, and whatever, right? But whatever is right. But I am thrilled that I got to have you in here, because
I'd normally be working.
And for the last year, you've been in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen you hardly at all. So when we first started talking about this, even though I knew you were going to be coming back to Green Bay, I knew you'd have a new job, you're moving. I thought you'd be the last of my 4 brothers that I would get to have on.
Sure.
So you're the first. I don't know if you actually realize that.
No, I did realize that. Yeah, I saw who else was.
Yeah. So, which is pretty weird and interesting because
I'm not into the technology aspects like you and some of the others are. So
I as I was kind of mentally preparing for today, I was thinking about that, and I feel like we have so much in common, but yet, like, if we had to like itemize the list of things, like it doesn't seem like there's a lot of overlap. So it's awesome, and I guess I'm just saying I'm thrilled to have a great relationship with my brothers. I see other families where they're not like we are.
We all get along pretty well.
I think really well.
Yeah.
I think really well.
Yeah.
I think the number of times where there have been any disagreements, almost negligible.
Yeah.
Even Eric worked for us for a while, and he worked for us and lived with us, and even then, there was no real huge anger. We would get into some squabbles about work.
Yeah.
But that's because we both cared about it.
Well, we can have different political views and not let it beat each other up. Just sort of like, hey, that's your opinion, that's mine, and kind of roll with it and kind of banter back and forth and have an interesting argument without having it turn into a like, I hate you for thinking that way.
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
And, I had Rhonda on as a guest a few weeks ago, and, she's very similar in that regard where we seek out people that have different viewpoints, and we want to talk it through, and we want to convince ourselves. And I think everyone's not like that. I think some people view the way we are. I've had people tell me that they feel that I'm confrontational. And that's just because I want to state things the way that I understand them. Mm-hmm. And if it's different than that, then you got to tell me.
Yeah. Break that understanding, that minimal understanding that you think you have.
But that's very true. Yeah. Like, how else are you really supposed to learn? So that's interesting. So we don't have a huge amount of time left. So I wanted to leave you time to talk about your big
upcoming event. Yeah. So I have LaserCon coming up, and I'm really excited. It's the 3rd year. And I guess I'll give a little background to it. It's a mini gaming convention, and I thought it up because of I was at a convention with a good friend of mine, and we were playing a board game, and I looked around and I said, there's only like a handful of people playing board games and at this gaming convention. If you don't know a lot about gaming conventions, one of the biggest is Gen Con. So if you need to look up and find out what a gaming convention is all about.
Where's the nearest Gen Con?
Gen Con's in Indianapolis. So there's gaming conventions throughout the state, much smaller than that, though. Okay. And when we were at this other gaming convention, real small one, it was actually in Green Bay, and it was so small. I said, geez, this could just be at my house. We don't have to pay an entry fee and pay money to rent some place and things like there's enough room. We can just set up tables and play games just like we always do, and invite a bunch of people over. Heck, I could make my own little gaming convention. So I did, and I have T-shirts for it. And the first year we didn't have a theme to it, but then we've been going with themes. And so the second year we did a sci-fi space theme, and that went over really well. We had a lot of great games that go along those lines. This year it's going to be sort of a medieval fantasy theme to the games, so a lot of like dungeon crawling games and things like that. And it's always a lot of fun seeing what different games people run, and I always want enough games going on that, like, there's multiple games going on all the time, and it's been like that. It's been fun. And it's invite only, so you got to get invited to it by somebody.
So how can you get invited?
Well, I invited you, so.
Well, I know, but you're talking to thousands of people right now, right?
Well,
like maybe hundreds of thousands?
So everybody that's been invited in the past gets a free invite to invite somebody for the next year. So it kind of will spread.
So how many people can I invite?
Well, I don't know if I trust you to invite anybody. Maybe one, just clear them by me.
So
first.
Anybody listening to this, how can they get invited?
They would have to, I guess they could contact me. I mean, because I'm running it, I can always invite more. So it's, okay. Yeah, that limitation's really just out there as a guideline. So
how would someone get in touch with you?
Well,
invited?
probably the easiest
Because
way.
if we're going to talk about this
Yeah.
big giant gaming
Yeah.
convention,
Well, it's not giant yet, but it could be. Who knows?
okay, so tell me more about it, and then we'll
so-
talk about how they can get a hold of you.
So it's coming up on September 18th and 19th, and it. The easiest way is probably to go to Facebook and look up LaserCon 2015.
How do you spell LaserCon?
Just how it sounds. LASERCON, all one word. And throw the 2015 in it just so that it'll specify it. You'll find the right thing. Because there's some other LaserCons out there for other, like there's one in Australia and things like that. They're for other things, though.
Like lasers?
Yeah, they are. So laser light shows and things like that.
Nick and I have a telepathic connection.
Yeah, it's exactly what you'd think. So I wasn't surprised to see that, but this LaserCon is better, so because it's more fun.
Okay, so it's you said the weekend of the
18th and 19th, yeah.
The 18th and 19th,
Yeah.
so Friday, Saturday?
Friday and Saturday, yeah.
Okay.
Friday night and Saturday all day.
Okay, and where's this?
It's actually just until it gets too big to have at the house. It's going to be at the house. So,
Okay, so
yeah.
you would prefer they go to the Facebook
Yeah,
page?
they can just go to the Facebook page and look it up.
So it's
Yeah.
LaserCon, and if they're in the area, I think Facebook will filter it out so that's probably the top thing that comes up for them.
Yeah, well,
If it's not the top thing that comes up for them, if they type in LaserCon, they're probably not invited.
yeah.
That's right. Right?
Yep.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that is fair to say.
Okay. So,
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I always have fun creating the T-shirts for it, and
so do you want more people to come?
it's kind of a fine line. Like I want more people, but they need to be people that want to have fun and game. So
Game, like
that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah. So talk about some of the games.
Real
stuff.
quick. So like a lot of people think of board games, they think of like Risk or Monopoly. I think those are some of the big ones that you might think of. We don't really play those games. We play other board games that might be more of a Euro style game or an Ameritrash style game, which if you don't know what those are,
You're not invited.
Well,
'Cause
no.
I think I know what a Euro style is.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's like Settlers.
Yeah, Settlers of
Okay.
Catan is a popular one that would be a Euro style.
But I wouldn't know how to describe that.
It's more of
genre.
it's more of an abstract game that uses tiles and pieces to show an abstract concept, and usually you win by victory points in those types of games. An Ameritrash game would be something where you just have your own armies, your own pieces, and you just overwhelm and crush the other side. So Risk would be an example of that.
Okay.
But it's an easier example. There's a lot more dense or complex versions.
So, what's your favorite game?
So my favorite game right now is, so my favorite primarily Euro style game would be Caverna. It's a pretty new game that I got.
Do they make coffee there?
It's close. It does sound like Caverna. It does. But Caverna, Caverna, it's basically like a little building game. You build up your victory points and you try to outmaneuver the other players, and it's a very Euro style game. And then my favorite Ameritrash style game, which would be like just pieces and battling and so forth, would be the Axis and Allies 1914 edition, which, if you know your history, it actually doesn't make sense to say Axis and Allies in 1914.
Okay.
But they're the
brand name.
It's a brand name, yeah. So
Okay, interesting. So those are your two favorites.
Yeah, those
so different than favorites. What's popular? Like what are some games that people that hear this that don't make it to LaserCon either because they couldn't figure out how to get there,
Yeah.
or they listen to it after it already happened. What would be some ways they could expose themselves to that culture?
Yeah, if you want to look up anything about the board games and stuff that I'm talking about, best place to look is boardgamegeek.com.
Okay.
There's a lot of great information, and if you'll find out right away whether you're into these types of board games or not, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, the types of board games. I like to watch this YouTube video by Dice Tower, and it's really friendly, really easy to watch videos, and I really love their top 10s.
Okay.
And they talk about their favorite types of games, so they'll talk about like a genre or type of game, and then they'll go through their top 10 games of that genre that they really like. And I love watching those videos because they really tell you a lot about those games. And then you can tell if you're going to like that game. And that helps give you some information about it. And you don't have to read about it. You can just watch the video, have a good time, and learn about all these new board games that you might want to get.
So would you recommend that people go to, there's Gnome Games in town, there's Chimera and Appleton, I think they're still around.
Yeah.
And then I forgot the name of the place in Milwaukee.
There's actually a bunch of them.
Well, there's one there's one right at the Bayshore Mall.
Yeah, Board Game Barrister, I think.
Yeah, and like Max loves that place.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the Green Bay area, Gnome Games definitely would be.
So you think those you would recommend those to people? That
they can check out those games. They can find other players at those places, and that's those are great examples. By and large, still though, Magic the Gathering is probably still the biggest.
That's the hugest.
Yeah, that's still the biggest.
Okay, so the cross section of those two things we talked about, the gaming and the teaching thing. So if you're a parent and you want your kids to be learning stuff when they're doing that, what do you think are some?
I think a lot of the Euro style games teach a lot of skills to kids. When in fact, when I taught economics, I used Settlers of Catan. I had a bunch of copies of it to show some of the different supply and demand, different vocabulary from economics. I showed it in the board games.
Excellent. So they can learn.
Yeah,
some
they
of
can
those
learn
concepts.
a ton, and they're not just learning about it; they're doing it.
Right.
So it's more meaningful.
Awesome. Okay, so almost ready to wrap up. So the thing that I forgot to ask Trisha last time.
Yeah.
So go ahead, take it from there.
All right. So if I had somebody else on the show that both you and I interviewed, okay. Just want to make sure that's clear.
So the trick.
And you said I can't pick Aaron Rodgers.
So well, I mean you. So I haven't. I did give him a high five.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, so I guess he would probably count. I mean, he wouldn't remember, so I don't know if that counts.
I'm sure he wouldn't remember.
Because he had bigger things on his mind. So that was at the Super Bowl when they brought the Lombardi trophy back. I got to touch the trophy, and he gave high fives.
So that's why it doesn't look the same ever since.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
what'd you do to it?
Oh, no, I thought you meant because he touched it.
Oh, you touched it.
So in a roundabout sort of fashion, you whatever, he's on everybody's wish list, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So who else would you like to have?
No, in all honesty, our other brother Eric, I think that would be great because I think if you and I were interviewing him, you would ask him all sorts of technical questions because he's a genius with computers, and then I could ask him all sorts of gaming questions because I know more about gaming than you do. Not that you don't know anything about it, but just. Right. And I know he knows a lot, so those would be two areas that we could.
Interesting.
So that's why I think about him. He would be a good person to have on.
So the trick is, I'm not going to have you back ever.
Okay. That's fine.
So I might, but but I mean I might not.
If this is an if.
So these are just ins to invite other people.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
So you don't need an in to invite him.
I'm just being sarcastic. Okay. But anybody else you want to mention? You like to bring in? Because he's on my list, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, let's be real. He's my favorite brother.
Well, no, he's my favorite brother.
Touche.
You have that all wrong.
Right.
No, I shouldn't say that.
Anybody else?
Let's see.
No.
I don't.
All right, we're cutting to music.
Yeah, I don't.
You snooze.
So
for the record, Nick, the only
Aaron,
person that he could invite that's not Aaron Rodgers is his brother.
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed.
Well, I thought about other people that game a lot, but I don't know. You'd have nothing to say to them.
So realistically, part of the thing is whether you come back as a co-host or not, which I think would be great for if it applies especially, but. It's to broaden the scope a little bit. The genesis of me doing this show at all was I have all these people that I know on Facebook, and either I don't know them well, and I question whether they should be my Facebook friends in quotes, right? Or I know them well, and I want to spend more time with them and talk to them about cool things, right? So
I'd have to keep looking. I mean, because I wouldn't want to just. Bring
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
so that's the idea. So if I want to broaden the pie a little bit. So whatever. So we got 2 votes for Eric. That's fine.
2 votes.
Well,
somebody
you
else
and me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We are 2 people.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think your vote mattered.
It not on this part. In this part, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to wipe out whatever you said and put what I want anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I do have keys.
So
Gina just texted me to say, "Do you have keys, right?" So yeah, we can cut to the music, Nick, if you want to. Yeah. So this one is. You might have to help me out. Let's see.
what, the number?
No, the name of the song. Oh, Michigan and Lake pH 2.0.
Yeah, you lived there for a while.
I know. So this is by Kurt Gunn,
By who?
right? Is that not right?
I don't know. You didn't give me that info.
Yeah. And he's going to be playing at the Food Truck Friday
Cool.
on Friday, and that's where I actually I talked to him quite a bit and picked up a couple CDs from him, and I have to I think he autographed the CDs for Max, and I have to get some of the MP3s, but he sent this over, so thanks Kurt for putting that in there. We're out.
Yeah, have a good one.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah.